The world is once again watching the Middle East with unease as US-Iran tensions reach a boiling point. In February 2026, the threat of war looms larger than it has in years. This crisis follows last summer's US-Israeli bombing campaign, Operation Midnight Hammer, which failed to resolve concerns over Iran's nuclear ambitions. Now, the Trump administration claims Iran is again on a dangerous path, prompting a massive military buildup. US officials openly discuss the likelihood of military action, with sources suggesting a 90% chance in the coming weeks. Israel is bracing for conflict, and critical decisions are being made behind closed doors in Washington. The world watches anxiously as military posturing and high-stakes diplomacy collide. Talks have offered a glimmer of hope, but fundamental disagreements persist. The central question: can diplomacy pull the US and Iran back from the brink? As American forces pour into the region, the risk of a devastating conflict grows. The stakes could not be higher for global stability. The US military buildup in the Middle East is unprecedented, signaling clear intent to Iran. Two aircraft carrier strike groups, the USS Abraham Lincoln and USS Gerald Ford, now patrol near Iran, bringing nearly 150 warplanes and a dozen warships. The US Air Force has deployed over 50 advanced fighter jets, including F-35s and F-22s, within 24 hours. Hundreds of cargo flights deliver weapons and supplies to regional bases. More than 30,000 American troops are now stationed across allied countries, forming a ring around Iran. Advanced missile defense systems, including Patriot and THAAD batteries, protect U.S. forces and allies. This rapid mobilization is designed to intimidate Tehran and prepare for a possible large-scale operation. The Pentagon's message: the U.S. is ready for war if red lines are crossed. The scale and speed of this deployment leave little doubt about American resolve. Diplomacy is still on the table. The military option is fully prepared. The region is on edge, awaiting the next move. The world holds its breath as tensions escalate. Despite military escalation, a fragile diplomatic channel remains open. Recent indirect talks in Geneva saw both sides claim progress, but deep divisions persist. The U.S. demands Iran curb its nuclear program, dismantle its missile arsenal, and end support for regional proxies. Iran insists it will only discuss its nuclear program, calling its missiles defensive and its regional alliances non-negotiable. This fundamental disagreement is the main obstacle to a breakthrough. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has expressed skepticism about reaching a deal. The U.S. awaits Iran's detailed response, with a 2-week window for diplomacy to succeed. With military forces poised for action, the pressure is immense. The clock is ticking for a peaceful resolution. The world watches as the last chance for diplomacy unfolds. The Trump administration's top priority is preventing Iran from acquiring nuclear weapons. Vice President JD Vance has made it clear all options, including military force, are on the table. U.S. officials warn that a nuclear Iran would trigger a regional arms race, with Saudi Arabia and Turkey likely to pursue their own weapons. Preventing this domino effect is a key U.S. goal. Israel, led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, insists on the complete dismantling of Iran's nuclear and missile programs. The U.S. is under pressure not to compromise, reinforcing a hardline stance. While diplomacy is preferred, patience is running thin in Washington. President Trump alone will decide when talks have failed. The message Mauger. The window for negotiation is closing fast. If Iran does not yield, military action becomes a real possibility. The world faces a critical juncture. Iran's response is a mix of defiance and diplomacy. Hardliners, led by Supreme Leader Khamenei, vow resistance and threaten U.S. interests if attacked. The IRGC conducts live-fire drills in the Strait of Hormuz, signaling readiness to disrupt global energy supplies. Meanwhile, Iran's president adopts a conciliatory tone, insisting Iran seeks no nuclear weapons and is open to verification. This dual messaging aims to win international support while warning the U.S. of the costs of war. Ultimately, the supreme leader holds the final say on Iran's course. The U.S. must decipher whether threats or diplomatic overtures reflect Iran's true intentions. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. Any U.S. conflict with Iran would be a massive, sustained campaign, not a limited strike. The goal: cripple Iran's regime and offensive capabilities using overwhelming air and naval power. Initial attacks would target air defenses, command centers, and communications. Follow-up strikes would focus on IRGC leadership, missile sites, and critical infrastructure. Israel would likely join, making this broader than previous operations. Iran is expected to retaliate with missile strikes on U.S. bases in Israel. Some U.S. officials worry Iran's missile capabilities are underestimated. A war would quickly engulf the region, destabilizing governments and creating power vacuums. The political fallout could reshape the Middle East and define the Trump presidency. A swift victory is possible, but a prolonged conflict could become a costly quagmire. The risks are enormous for all involved. The world braces for the consequences. The U.S.-Iran crisis has global consequences. Any conflict would disrupt oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, spiking energy prices worldwide. Ordinary people would feel the impact through higher fuel and goods costs. Tens of thousands of U.S. troops are at risk, and American bases could become targets. The specter of another prolonged Middle East war haunts the U.S. and its allies. A conflict could destabilize the region, empower extremists, and create new refugee crises. America's global relationships and ability to address other challenges would suffer. The ripple effects would be felt for years. The world is interconnected. What happens here affects us all. As diplomats race against time, the hope is that reason prevails over war.